Hey, what's going on, guys? Maldiva here, and today I'm going to be going over the talents and honor talents for Affliction Warlock in PvP. I'll go over my build for arenas, then Battlegrounds, RBGs, and also 1v1s. So starting off, this build is going to be my basic arena 3v3 build. So for the first tree, I always go Wraith and Agony. I don't pick Haunt or Drain Soul, they just aren't worth it at the moment. The second, I'm pretty much always Absolute Corruption. I've never used Mana Tap or Contagion. Contagion would only be good if you were playing Rotten Decay, which is an honor talent we'll look at later on. This tree, I change up a bit. I like to play Halaterra default, but against certain teams, especially melee cleaves with warriors, I'll have to pick up Demonic Circle. For the 60 tree, I never spec out of Siphon Life. It's just a really good dot, and plus it heals you as well for the damage that it deals, and Soul Harvest can be purged. Plus also, Soul Harvest isn't that great unless you can dot a ton of targets to increase the duration. For the 75 tree, I am always Demon Skin. It'd be really rare for me to go Dark Pact, since there's a lot of teams that'll kill your pet, or they have dots and just random damage on your pet. So when you Dark Pact with your pet low health, the shield is also smaller and ends up not being worth it, and it's better off to just have Demon Skin passively regenerating over time. For the 90, I'm always Service. Service is really good because you are able to play it with the Fell Hunter out, so it melees. Because if you play with Supremacy, you'll have to play with the Doom Guard, and he's a pet that has to cast. So there's going to be a ton of LOS issues, and I just don't want to bother with that. So Service is the best. You also get another Spell Lock, which helps and really annoys the enemy team. And for the last tree, I always spec into Phantom Singularity. It's a really awesome dot. It's AoE, and it also heals you as well for every target hit, and this cannot be dispelled, so that's very important. Moving on to the honor talents, the first row, this is going to be situational. I mostly sit in Relentless since I'm an orc, so the stun durations are really low on me with that. But there might be a team that I would play like Adaptation. If there's a Shadow Priest, I could use Adaptation for his fear. And then the regular trinket, I tend to use this versus Destro Warlocks, since they often burst you with a Windwalker on your team, so you'll have to trinket the stun or the coil and pop a defensive to save yourself. But that's really it. Most of the time I'm always Relentless or Adaptation. For the second tree, there's no doubt about it, always Mind Quickness. I never swap out of that. This next one, I sit Tongues default, but there will be some teams that I'll go Weakness. I like Weakness against Warriors. It's very good against Survival Hunters. And I don't really like to use Frag. Frag is nice, but I see this more for Demo or Destro when you're bursting. For this one, Nether Ward is the default. If I fight, let's say, a melee cleave, I'll most likely spec into Casting Circle. But Nether Ward is also cool because if you fight a Windwalker, if you press Nether Ward as they have karma, while they have karma on you, you can actually start reflecting the karma damage back to them. And then this, I never spec out of Endless Affliction. The other two just aren't good enough to really pick over Endless Affliction. And the last one, Amplify. I always pick Amplify for threes. There's not really a good opportunity to use Rotten Decay for high level 3v3. Maybe at lower MMRs they'll let you sit there drain lifing and keeping UA up, but for high level play we have to play Amplify because it just doesn't work out. I've tried it, it wasn't fun. And Amplify is also a ton of fun to play with. Okay, so now I'm going to go over my RBG / Battleground build. This build is very similar to my 3v3 arena build. As you can see, the only thing I really change in this build, I swap out of Siphon Life to Soul Harvest. That's about it, just because there's more targets for you to dot and put agony on, so you can get a higher duration soul harvest. And Siphon Life is just an added dot that isn't really worth casting, and it'll just take away from you keeping your agonies up, which is really gonna boost up your damage a lot. So that's why I spec out of that into soul harvest. Yes, it can be dispelled, but you should hopefully be protected, especially with Nether Ward. You can pop Nether Ward when you use that to decrease the chances of it being purged. And yeah, everything is pretty much the same, so I won't go over everything again just to save time. But just know for my Battleground build and RBGs, I just swap into Soul Harvest. And here, this build is my 2v2 build if I'm playing with a healer, let's say. Because that's the best way for you to gain rating in 2s. I would really recommend you play with a healer. I like Resto Druid personally and Resto Sham. So the only things that really changed in this build, I'm spec'd out of Absolute Corruption for Contagion, since we're going to be keeping UA up and really focusing on UA to do damage. And then going on to the PvP talents, Rotten Decay, because that pairs very well with Contagion. And that's basically it. I just switched out those two for 2v2. Alright, now that I did the 3v3 arena build, now I kind of made up a pretty nice build, I would say, that I would use for dueling. It's very, very different compared to the arena build. As you can see, I swapped out a lot of talents. So when I duel, I'll always stay Wrath and Agony. I don't change out of that. But in the second tree, instead of Absolute Corruption, I went with Contagion, because this talent goes really well with Rotten Decay, as you'll see later on. The third one, I picked up Mortal Coil. You could either use Mortal Coil or Howl, possibly even Portal if you're fighting a melee. But I think I would pick Coil because it's a 5-second longer cooldown, but you also heal off the Coil, and it's not on DR with Fear, so you can Coil into Fear instead of just having Howl to get them off you. For the 60, I'm still Siphon Life, as I don't see Soul Harvest being better, and it's good to get some extra heals in the duel. The 75 tree, I picked up Dark Pact instead of Demon Skin. Depending on the length of the game, I would say Dark Pact is going to be better, because for a shorter game, Dark Pact beats out Demon Skin. The game has to be a little bit longer for Demon Skin to be better. So that'll be better for the shorter duels. The 90 tree, I picked up Supremacy instead of Service. If you're fighting a spellcaster, I would say possibly pick up Service for the double spell lock, but you don't really need the double spell lock, let's say, if you fight a warrior or a death knight. So I spec'd in a Supremacy to play with the Doom Guard. You shouldn't have any LOS issues if you're just dueling. So you'll have the root and the nice damage that comes with the Doom Guard. And you could also use the Infernal if you'd like to get the stun. For the 100 tree, I spec'd in a Soul Effigy, because Soul Effigy will most likely bring you more damage single target, so that would be better in a duel compared to Phantom Singularity. You can play with Phantom Singularity if you want, that's up to you, but I feel like you'd get more out of Soul Effigy in this 1v1 situation. Alright, now moving on to the honor talents for the duels. I am currently in Relentless. Depending on what I fight, I would maybe go to Adaptation if they have a CC longer than 5 seconds. If not, you can even play Trinket since it's going to be a short duel. You'd get more worth out of that. Always Mind Quickness still in the duels. That doesn't change. The Curse tier changes depending on what you're fighting. So Tongues if it's a spellcaster, Weakness if it's a melee. If you're feeling pretty confident, you could even go for Agility. And then here, Nether Ward, obviously if it's a caster, or maybe even if you fight a Windwalker, I would probably pick up Nether Ward to reflect his karma. And DK too as well. You could reflect his kick since it's magic, but you'd probably get more worth out of Casting Circle, honestly, since it's a way shorter cooldown. But that's up to you. Or even Essence Strain. Most people pick up Essence Strain for 1v1s because you're going to be pairing that up with Rotten Decay. So you probably don't even need Nether Ward or Casting Circle if you're going to be okay with just fake casting, or they don't have an interrupt. Then I would go with Essence Strain. For here, Endless Affliction still, that does not change, and then I changed up to Rotten Decay. Since this is a 1v1 build, you're not going to have to worry about dispels, hopefully, unless it's a healer. So then you can just sit there drain lifing, refreshing your dots, and continuing to put UAs up. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I really hope this helped a lot. If it did, let me know in the comments below. Also, don't forget to like and share this video, and also subscribe to the channel for more Warlock content. If you guys have any builds that you like that were maybe different than the ones I showed, then let me know in the comments too, because I'll be very curious to see what other builds people come up with. And thank you guys. I'll see you in the next video.